Dear students, I am Sunita Rani, Associate Professor, Government National College, Sirsa. In this lecture, I am going to discuss a very famous folk epic written by Alexander Pope, that is The Rape of the Lock. It is in the paper for MA previous, the literature of 18th century. In this lecture, I will be discussing about the life of Alexander Pope, about his age, 18th century, also called Augustan age, then something about the summary of the poetry, what is the sum up of the poem, and then we will be discussing some features of mock heroic poem, and at last there will be some very short questions to be answered in one word or one line each. This is a lecture about the rape of the lock by Alexander Pope. First of all, I am coming to the life of Pope. Before that, here is a picture before you. This picture is from the book. It is the heroine of the poetry, heroine of this poetry, this mock heroic poem. The name of the central character, this young fair lady, is Belinda. And then about the life of Pope. Pope was born in London on 21st May 1688. He was born in a Roman Catholic family. This was the year of glorious revolution, means 1688 was the year of the glorious revolution. His father was a successful linen merchant in the Strand. The poet's mother, Edith, was the daughter of William Turner, Esquire of York. Both parents were Catholics. And there was a sister, Pope's sister was also there. Pope's education was affected by the recently enacted Test Acts, which upheld the status of the established Church of England and banned Catholics from teaching, attending a university, voting, and holding public office on penalty of perpetual imprisonment. Pope was taught to read by his aunt and went to Twyford School. His education was in Twyford School. There was a ban on attending a university, as I have told you, holding public office on penalty of perpetual imprisonment. So he was taught to read by his aunt and went to Twyford School in about 1998. He then went on to two Roman Catholic schools in London. Such schools, while illegal, were tolerated in some areas. In 1700, his family moved to a small estate of Pope's Wood in Binfield, Berkshire, close to the Royal Windsor Forest. This was due to strong anti-Catholic sentiment and a statute preventing Papists from living within 10 miles of London or Westminster. Pope would later describe the countryside around the house in his poem Windsor Forest. Pope's formal education ended at this time, and from then on he mostly educated himself by reading the works of classical writers such as the satirist Horace and Juvenal, the epic poets Homer and Virgil. And then he read English authors such as Geoffrey Chaucer, William Shakespeare, and John Dryden. He studied many languages and read works by English, French, Italian, Latin, and Greek poets. After 5 years of study, Pope came into contact with figures from London literary society such as William Congreve, Samuel Garth, and William Trumbull. At Binfield, he made many important friends. One of them was John Garrill, the future dedicatee of The Rape of the Lock. He introduced the young Pope to the aging playwright William Wycherley and William Wash, a minor poet, who helped Pope revise his first major work, the Pastorals. He also met the Blount sisters, Teresa and Martha, both of whom remained lifelong friends. From the age of 12, he suffered from numerous health problems because Alexander Pope was not in good health. He was suffering from numerous health problems, including pot disease, a form of tuberculosis, that is TB. He was humpbacked. He was suffering from deformity in body. He was affected by the spine, which deformed his body and stunted his growth, leaving him with a severe hunchback. His tuberculosis infection caused other health problems, including respiratory difficulties, high fevers, inflamed eyes, and abdominal pain. He grew to a height of only 1.37 meters. Pope was means 4 feet and 6 inches. It means 4 feet and 6 inches his height was. Pope was already removed from society as a Catholic, and his poor health alienated him further. Although he never married, he had many female friends to whom he wrote witty letters, including Lady Mary Wortley Montagu. He has been alleged that his lifelong friend Martha Blount was his lover. His friend William Cheselden said, according to Joseph Spence, I could give a more particular account of Mr. Pope's health than perhaps any man. The Cibber's slander is false. He had been gay, but left that way of life upon his acquaintance with Mrs. B. Then about his early career. What was his career? In May 1709, Pope's Pastoral was published in the 6th part of bookseller Jacob Tenson's Poetical Miscellanies. This earned Pope instant fame and was followed by an essay on criticism published in May 1711, which was equally well received. Around 1711, Pope made friends with Tory writers, that was Jonathan Swift, Thomas Parnell, and John Arthurnote, who together formed a satirical scribblers club. Its aim was to satirize ignorance and pedantry through the fictional scholar Martinus Scribulus. He also made friends with Whig writers Joseph Addison and Richard Steele. In March 1713, Windsor Forest was published to great acclaim. And this book, The Rape of the Lock, it was published in 1712. First of all, it was published in 2 cantos. The book has 5 cantos in all. But in its first publication, in its first version, there were only 2 cantos. There is a funny battle in this story. The battle takes place in a funny mode. The battle is between the sexes and the follies of a young lady. And then he expanded the rape of the lock. It was expanded in 1714. The 5 cantos were complete. The quarrel takes place between 2 families in the story. The 2 families contain 2 characters, main characters of the story. One is Lord Patre, Baron. Second is Miss Arabella Fermor. The name is of this young fair lady, Belinda. During Pope's friendship with Joseph Addison, he continued to Addison's play Cato, as well as writing for The Guardian and The Spectator. Around this time, he began the work of translating the Iliad, which was a painstaking process. Publication began in 1715 and didn't end until 1720. In 1714, the political situation worsened with the death of Queen Anne and the disputed succession between the Hanoverians and Jacobites, leading to the Jacobite Rising of 1715. Though Pope, as a Catholic, might have been expected to have supported the Jacobites because of his religious and political affiliations. According to Maynard Mack, where Pope himself stood on these matters can probably never be confidently known. These events led to an immediate downturn in the fortunes of the Tories and Pope's friend Henry St. John I. Pope lived in his parents' house in Mawson Row, Chiswick, between 1716 and 1719. The red brick building is now the Mawson Arms, commemorating him with a blue plaque. The money made from his translation of Homer allowed Pope to move in 1709 to a villa at Twickenham, where he created his now famous grotto and gardens. The serendipitous discovery of a spring during the excavation of the subterranean retreat enabled it to be filled with the relaxing sound of trickling water, which would quietly echo around the chambers. Pope was said to have remarked that were it to have nymphs as well, it would be complete in everything. Although the house and gardens have long since been demolished, much of the grotto survives. It now lies beneath Radnor House Independent Co-educational School and is occasionally opened to the public. Now, about the date of death of Alexander Pope. He died on May 30, 1744. Date of his death is May 30, 1744. The age of Pope ended. Now I am coming to the story of Rape of the Lock. Pope's most famous poem is The Rape of the Lock, first published in 1712, I have earlier told you, with a revised version published in 1714. It is a mock epic. It satirizes a high society quarrel between Arabella Fermor, the Belinda of the poem, and Lord Pattray, who had sniffed a lock means a curl of hair, from her head without her permission. The satirical style is tempered, however, by a genuine and almost veristic interest in the beau monde, fashionable world of 18th century English society. Because we are doing the literature of 18th century, the story belongs to 18th century, the lifestyle of the people of 18th century. The heroine of the poem, I have told you, is Belinda, and in this canto 1, the scene opens in her bedroom. There is a narrative voice, opens the poem by meditating on how great suffering often emerges from trivial matters, and mentions that the story that follows was first communicated to the poet by a muse named Caril. The narrative voice wonders what might motivate a lord to assault a lady and a lady to reject a lord. Belinda is lying in a bed long after everyone else has gotten up, as she is kept asleep by her guardian self. As she sleeps, he sends her a dream of a handsome young man and whispers in her ear. Means in dream of Belinda, there is a story. The guardian self creates a story of a young man in her dream. That person, that young lover, whispers in her ear, having seemed to her ear his winning lips to lay. The sylph explains to her that a sylph is in the guardian of a young and beautiful virgin. He further explains that after death, all women's souls return to the 4 elements from which they came. Fiery women become salamanders. These are the names of invisible spirits in air. These spirits were protecting Belinda throughout the day. These are first category of the selfish salamanders. Fiery women become salamanders, means those women who are fiery in nature, when they die, they become salamanders after death. And second type, soft yielding women become water spirits. Prudish women's souls sink down into the earth and become gnomes. This is third one. And coquettes, light-hearted and flirtatious women become sylphs, which flutter through the air. These sylphs are tasked with protecting the chastity and pleasure of new belles entering society. Some young women, the sylph continues, are ruined because they are washed over by malicious gnomes instead of sylphs. Fortunately for Belinda, she is in the care of the sylphs, who will make sure to steer her right though all the ups and downs of life in society and at parties. Sylphs also make sure that life stays glamorous and exciting for ladies, keeping things working properly in the toy shops of the hearts. The ladies' hearts reflect life at court, because during 18th century all the ladies used to visit clubs. They were the toy shops of the hearts. The ladies' hearts reflect life at court, so the heart is metaphorically a place where wigs, with sword notes strive, bews banish bews, and coaches drive, all contrived by the sylphs. All these incidents in courts, in clubs, were contrived by the sylphs. The sylph explains that his name is Ariel. The sylph protecting Belinda is Ariel. He explains that his name is Ariel and that he has consulted the stars and seen that some disaster is close at hand, because Belinda is about to go to the club. She starts traveling on the Thames River. She has to reach to a club where she goes for her merriment, where she goes for card games. And Sylph explains that there is some disaster close at hand, because at that day, during the card game or after the card game, some disaster was to take place. So, but he wants Belinda, the pious maid, to beware of men. So this Ariel, this sylph, this protecting sylph warns Belinda that there was some disaster on the way before her return to her home. So she warns her, that Ariel warns her to beware of men. And there was a dog of Belinda, there was a pet kept by Belinda. The name of the dog was Shock. So the dog Shock has decided that Belinda has been sleeping for too long and wakes her up. She reads some love letters and soon forgets the importance of Ariel's message, because Ariel was warning her, but she forgets that warning because the Shock has decided that Belinda is sleeping for long. So that dog wakes her up and she starts reading love letters and forgets the warning given by Ariel. With the help of sylphs and Betty, Betty is the name of her maid, Belinda begins the elaborate process of dressing and grooming herself. Betty is figured as a pagan priestess, while Belinda herself is a goddess, and the dressing table becomes an altar, altar. That dressing table of Belinda is compared to an altar. Altar means puja sthal. For these sacred rites of pride, Betty prepares her to travel to the Thames River. There is a prayer in that party. The prayer is by a young adventurer Baron. He is praying to be successful in his mission. His mission was to cut the beautiful lock of hair of Belinda, and there is a mission again. That mission is by Sylphs. Sylph's mission was to tend the fair to protect Belinda. Means the lady is traveling on the Thames River. The young Baron is there in party in the club. He is praying to be successful in his mission. His mission is to be successful in his sinful act. That act is sinful. He's about to rip the lock. He's about to cut the curl of hair of that young fair lady, Belinda. And again, there is a mission. It is the mission of sylphs. Their mission was to protect Belinda. They were protecting her earrings, her locks, and Shock. Ariel was protecting Shock. Shock is the name of her pet, her lapdog, and they were protecting the watch. Her petticoat means her gown. All these items were being protected by the sylphs. So Belinda needs a whole slew of items to get ready for the day, including India's glowing gems. Every type of jewelry, every type of cosmetics were in possession of Belinda. They may contain India's glowing gems, all Arabia, tortoise, an elephant in the form of combs, and puffs, powders, patches, Bibles, billet dough. The sylphs are crucial to arranging everything carefully. Means this is the duty of sylphs also, that they are expected to arrange all these things carefully. All these items of jewelry, all these items of cosmetics of Belinda, they are on duty to manage these things very carefully, which means that Betty is praised for labors not her own. And this is about the dressing of Belinda. When she gets herself dressed, then she went to that club, that is Hyde Park. The name of the place is Hyde Park. The description of Belinda's dressing routine echoes the convention in epic poetry of having a scene in which the hero is dressed in his armor. Transforming the armor scene into a dressing scene emphasizes how low the stakes are here. She is not preparing for war. She prepares after so hard work. She is she is traveling to that Thames River. She gets herself involved in hard work to get herself prepared, and she is not preparing for war. She is preparing to socialize. The religious imagery also makes a witty moral judgment on those rights of pride, suggesting that vanity at their heart is not compatible with Christian values. The passage once again emphasizes the absurdity of Belinda's vanity by showing just how many fancy grooming items she needs. In addition, her exotic items point to a broader trend in this period of colonialism, giving the British control over other countries. So when Pope describes a box of Arabian perfumes as all Arabia, he is making it seem like Belinda herself is a great conqueror of those foreign lands. And thus he highlights the self-importance associated with her beauty. The mention of Bibles jumbled in with a slew of trivial items like puffs and powders means very serious things are being compared to very trivial items. This is the feature of a mock heroic poem. Bibles are being compared with the slew of trivial items like puffs and powders. So it shows that how Belinda has come to regard the process of beautifying herself as being just as important as her religious duties. So meanwhile, the fact that the sylphs are able to work secretly so that Betty's work is no longer really her own once again casts doubt on the extent to which the poem's characters truly are responsible for their actions. Then in Canto 3, a game of card takes place. This game of card is called Omber, and there is a battle. There is a sinful act, that is the rape of that lock. Now this is a picture before you. The story takes a turn. The lock has been cut. The curl of hair, beautiful curl of hair has been cut from the hair of Belinda. And now this picture symbolizes the sad mood, ill temper. This is a cave. This is a cave of a goddess, cave of spleen. The name of the goddess is Spleen. Spleen means sadness. So here this goddess makes or turns the mood of Belinda very sad. Belinda is in ill-natured mood and affection after the loss of the lock. Because she has lost her lock, her mood gets ill-natured and affected. Because Ariel has gone, the protecting sylph has gone. Now the place is taken by Umbriel. Umbriel is not a sylph, it is gnome, and it descends to the cave of spleen. From that spleen, it brings a bag of tears, and those tears means this bag of tears and this bag of sighs. This is being showered upon the head of Belinda. She starts weeping, she starts sighing, and then at that spot there is a speech, and this speech is by Thalustrius. Thalustrius' speech rouses the rage of Belinda. After this speech, Belinda gets provoked, she gets rageous, she is very rageous, she starts shouting. Then Sir Plume, one another character, the Sir Plume bids to pacify that environment but bids in vain the payment of the lock. That lock can never return. Then in Canto 5 there is a speech by Clarissa. Clarissa is a lady who helps the Baron, who helps John Patre to cut that lock. Now there is a speech by Clarissa, and that Clarissa speech even fails to moralize the atmosphere. Then there is a battle, the battle of Belles and Bews. The lock is nowhere to be seen. Within that battle incidents, the lock rises. It rises to the heaven and becomes a star. It will never come back. The lock has risen to the heaven. It has entered the constellation. Constellation means a group of stars. The lock has also become a star. This is the ending of the poem. Now, the 3 or 4 main features of a mock epic, because this book is a mock epic. First is a work designed to ridicule attitudes, style, or subject matter by handling either an elevated subject in a trivial manner or a low subject with mock dignity. It means this work is designed to ridicule the attitude, style, or subject matter. Means a serious epic has very elevated style and serious theme, but all these attitudes and style and subject matter are ridiculed in the work designed as mock epic, and it renders a trivial subject ridiculous by treating it with the elaborate. Means subject is already trivial, and it becomes very ridiculous because it contains very large elaborations. It compares small things with something great. There are comparisons, very small things, very trivial things are compared with serious things, with great things, with moral things. These are 2 or 3 main features of a mock epic. Now at last, some short questions. These questions will be answered in one word or in one sentence. The answers will be discussed in the next lecture in this series of online lectures. So I am telling you the questions and we will discuss the answers next. The first question you have to find out the answer is comment on the allusion of strike to dust and imperial towers of Troy. This line is within inverted commas. It means it is an allusion. Allusion is a reference from some mythical story, and you have to tell what is this allusion just in one sentence. Second one, the comment on the real life incident on which the rape of the lock is composed. What is the real life incident? And third, comment on the theme just in one sentence. Answer should be in one sentence. Question number 4, comment on the caskets of Belinda, means her drudgery. Fifth, comment on the illusion. Again there is illusion, again there is a mythical story, and we have to comment on this illusion, where it occurred and from which story this line has been taken. Skyla's fate, changed to a bird and sent to a flight in the air, she dearly pays for the Nisu's injured here. 6. Describe Belinda as she is described at the beginning of Canto 2. Means we have to describe her actions and her behavior at the beginning of Canto number 2. The story is divided into 5 cantos and we have to describe her behavior at the beginning of Canto 2 only. Question number 7. Why could not Ariel protect Belinda? Although it was the main self protecting Belinda, but even that self left that job. Why? Question number 8. To which genre of verse does The Rape of the Lock belong? Genre means type of literature. Which is the type of literature? This Rape of the Work has been written means mock heroic poem. It is a satire. What is mock heroic poem? How it is mock heroic poem? We have not to discuss in detail, just to tell that it is a mock epic. It is a satire. The style of the poet is satiristic. Question number 9. Comment on the setting of The Rape of the Lock. And 10. How does Ariel threaten the sylphs in case they are negligent in their duties? Many sylphs were assigned duties to protect Belinda, but when they are negligent of their duties, the punishments were also there. And how does Ariel threaten those sylphs, those who fail in their duty to protect Belinda? These are very small questions we have to find out the answers and to discuss in the next lecture. And we will discuss in detail what is the supernatural element used in the poem, what is supernaturalism, and how can you apply the term mock epic to this poem. Means we have to find out all the features of mock heroic poem in this Rape of the Lock. Thank you. That's all.